All right, welcome back to the PPG. We are hopping into round one.
Okay, so we know we have Monarchs with Jose Colon, and we still don't know what Samson is playing on the other side. He's just setting two cards, so it looks like it might be just a control matchup, which is what we're going to be seeing a lot of in this format.
Yeah, it's really cool to see Monarchs round one too. It's a deck that we haven't really got to see in a while.
Yeah, I took a peek at his list, and it has some unique card choices with like the hand traps he decided to play, and I just really want to see how far I can get him at this tournament.
Hopefully this idea doesn't get stopped.
Yeah, ID is a very big choke point now that we have so many ways to interact with it. Before it was like Baylor, Max, or Bust.
Yeah. We're gonna see it resolve there. That's pretty good.
So these back rows I would think would be probably Imperm. It could also be cards like Ice Dragon's Prison, which is really prevalent this format. Most decks are deciding to either main or side it.
Yeah, I think if it was Imperm, he would have used it there. Unless if he doesn't know the matchup.
Yeah, the deck's so old you might just not know what the cards do or know when to stop them.
Yeah.
Oh, and it looks like he bricks since he's going into battle phase already. No, not having access to either Pantheism or the Monarchs is just really bad.
Yeah. At least he got the 800 poke in.
I mean, his engine is started because the Eidos will be able to get him a follow-up in the next turn.
Yeah, he has tribute fodder for the rest of the game, but he just needs a Monarch now.
That trap card from the Monarch deck, it could either be something like the Monarchs Erupt, or it could also be Escalation if he wants to just tribute on his opponent's turn. Maybe he has an Erebus and wants to surprise his opponent.
Yeah, could also be a Stormforth, and then he could Aether effect.
Yeah, Stormforth being back at 3 is really strong.
Grim YuGiOh said, "Hello, DB Grinder, what's up?"
It's nice to see everyone in the chat.
So he still only has 2 cards set, and he's thinking about his plays. Maybe that means he drew a starter.
Okay, so he pitches Lord and Scarlet, which is pretty solid because the Scarlet's going to be able to turn into a disruption, hitting the Imperm.
It's cool to see Imperm and Monarch, like actual hand traps, that way he can go second.
Yeah, but it also conflicts with the issues of the deck where it doesn't have as high as consistency as others, so the hand
Yeah.
traps will contribute to the bricks.
So we're going to see him Lord bring itself out.
I think he sent a Conquistador I can't really see, and that way he's just getting 2 resources back during the end phase, which is really strong. The Lord seems like it's not too easy for the Monarch deck to out, but if it just gets access to Erebus, it cuts off the Lord access if they don't have a Sanguine.
Yeah. And they also have a Stormforth, which should be able to out it pretty easily.
Stormforth is nice for when they leave it face up without a Sanguine because then you get rid of all their interruptions.
So here he's setting from deck.
So he's using the Scarlet effect. Kind of early, but I mean, you're going to get the Conquistador anyway, so there's not really much to play around at this point since your opponent doesn't have any back row like Cosmic. Their twins interact.
Did he just set that then activate it?
He might just be explaining what the card does.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's what it looks like. The cards are at least relatively new, so if you haven't been playing the game the last couple months, you might not know what they all do.
Yeah. Playing against this deck for the first time would be rough.
Yeah, not knowing the interactions with the Eldlich deck is really hard because all their cards are essentially +1s every turn. Still want to see what the other set. It could be a lot of things now that we see the Eldlich engine. It could easily just be a Haquero. I doubt it's Scarlet because he would have flipped it. Probably Ice Dragon's Prison as well. There's just not many cards it could be. He could be on Torrential, which I know a lot of people in the online circuit are trying to do just to combat the Virtual World decks or the Dytron decks to just make them overcommit.
Yeah, TT has been very good online.
Yeah, if you don't respect it, you're 100% going to get punished by it this tournament.
Yeah, like that card in Ice Dragon's Prison. If you don't play around those, you're just going to lose.
Yeah, playing around back row I think is just so important this format, which is going to just let players with great technical play do so much better and not have to worry about playing combo mirrors or going second where the die roll doesn't matter as much anymore.
So we're just going to see the Monarch player set some cards, and it looked like he passed.
Yeah, so these cards better be strong enough to keep him in the game. Like we said before, they really got to be Stormforth or just some form of interruption for the following turn.
Yeah.
No, he's just going to get steamrolled with advantage.
Yeah, this is a bad matchup for Monarch.
Yeah, especially since the deck never needs its extra deck, so Monarch's gimmick of Domain doesn't even work out.
Yeah. And like the Erupt doesn't do anything because Eldlich doesn't activate anything on board.
Yeah, you're doing it a favor by just like flipping cards that don't affect it, so they know you don't really have much disruption.
Exactly.
So the sideboard's definitely going to be important in this matchup, as it looks like Eldlich is just taking control. Let's see, maybe Monarch draws into a play. There we go. We see Stormforth, so he might have a way to play now.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's what you want to see if you're him.
So drawing a Monarch is the only real way that he gets back into this game.
Oh, and he's activating return. Yeah, he has to have a Monarch or something now.
He should watch his placement, though, because if there is an imperm in that column, it's not only going to shut off the Monarch effect, which is huge since he doesn't get the Foolish, it'll also shut off the return for his follow-up.
Yeah. So he's thinking about chaining. He's going to trap trick.
That's interesting. So he's going to cut off his other Eldlich cards for the end of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if he's going for Imperm, Torrential. Those are like the cards I'd go to off bat. Maybe Ice Dragon's Prison. It's not awful in this matchup, but there is a decent amount of types with Idea being a warrior. Then you have fairies, you have zombies. So
Yeah, and you can also just use it to summon back. So you can like Eidos target, chain, and steal.
yeah, it could also just be a way to like link climb if they don't have domain face up if you want bigger monsters.
Yeah. He's going to be setting punishment from deck. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Punishment's being one of the best trap cards in this format, I think, because it's not only a disruption, but it could also be a starter for your engine if you need it to be.
Yeah. Punishment's really good in the decks that play it.
Yeah, and I think most trap decks can get away with playing Punishment since, in general, they don't use their extra deck as much. So you can like squeeze in a copy of Natis and like Omega, and then you just loop the Omega constantly.
Yeah. Omega is also very good versus like the top decks right now. Like Virtual World ends with their starters next turn, like the Qinglong Engrave, or Drytron ends with all the Drytrons Engrave.
Yeah, just being able to mess with the follow-up because you're not really facing any unbreakable turn 1 boards. It's kind of like trading resources until one deck has a +1.
So he's going to tribute the Lord to summon out. It's pretty good.
Well, it looks like he needs another tribute for it, no? Because the Erebus...
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, it makes sense. It's only one tribute.
Yeah,
you definitely
so
can't tribute that.
he probably thought he could tribute the Lord since it is a technically high-level monster, but it's not tribute summon. So Erebus won't be able to get by that part of the effect.
Yeah, he can still Eidos, just...
Yeah, so if he Eidoses, he forces his opponent to have conk or have a way to disrupt it, and now he can't use the punishment.
Yeah. So he interrupts that. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, and that was the bait. Now he can't activate any of his trap cards now. He gets to resolve this Erebus. He's not going to have access to Lord until his opponent's following turn, which is really strong since he used both Aquero and Conk this turn.
Yeah, that's actually really good for the Monarch player.
You see he knows his deck very well because he was able to navigate the situation. Oh, and it looks like he wasn't able to summon, so he might have the other Eidos in his hand.
Yeah. He could have another target in deck.
He could be playing Mithra. Mithra is the one I think I've seen the most out of Monarch decks because it just gives you the ability to special summon it. It does give your opponent a token, which is not the best in a format where links are so prevalent. And we see that he concedes, so he definitely drew his other target.
Yeah. Unfortunate. It happens, though.
Yeah, in the side deck, I just expect a lot of backward destruction to kind of go in both ways, since the Monarch deck's probably going to be playing Protect the Castle on its one Monarch, while the Eldlich deck is just going to try to out-resource it through multiple turns.
Yeah, we could see cards like DD Crow or Cosmic.
I think Cosmic is really good in this matchup both ways because it's like getting rid of a Pantheism, even if they're just activating it so they don't get an extra resource, is not awful. You could also get rid of March, Domain, and you don't give them prime food, which is really important.
I feel like Cosmic and Crow would just both be insane this match.
I think they're both good, and then if he's on Skullmeister can just be really strong as it interacts with the Prime as well. It hits Pantheism, which is just another way to stop the card. And Skullmeister can just work both ways since it can stop Scarlet and all the Eldlich spells and traps in the graveyard as well.
Yeah, we still don't know what kind of Eldlich deck he's on exactly. We did see Punishment, so there's probably Dogmatic in it. I mean, we'd have to assume. But there could be like Zoo in it still. We don't really know yet.
Yeah, he could be playing the Paolo deck where he plays the Zoo, Eldlich, and Dogmatica. But with the Trap Trick engine and multiple punishments, it seems like he's either focusing on a very trap-centric Eldlich Dogmatica deck
Mm-hmm.
or just a very trap-centric Eldlich deck that's playing punishment for utility.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at his deck, I mean, it looks kind of fat. Could be 60 cards.
If he's playing 60 cards, my money's on the Buster Blader Dragoon Red Eyes deck that just plays a bunch of good cards.
Yeah, if it's 60, it could really be anything.
Yeah. And that deck's actually pretty cool because it incorporates a lot of engines that people wouldn't really think mesh together, but it's for the fact that they go through with just summoning a Red Eyes, protecting it, and then using the Eldlich cards just as a way to stop your opponent for one turn, and then you apply so much pressure with just a Lord and a Dragoon.
Yeah, that deck's honestly really good. You can like Buster lock him for one turn, then you just win versus combo.
Yeah, a lot of decks just have a hard time dealing with all their board turn one and the follow-up, which is really hard to like get through this format, which is what we keep preaching, where it's just control. So having a good, strong follow-up is very important in a lot of the decks, especially when they can send the Predaplant Fusion to search Red Eyes as a follow-up as well.
Yeah. That deck has the problem with it is it sets up like one big monster like Dragoon, Buster Lock, and then it just has so many traps behind it that you just can't out it. And if you do, then they have Eldlich to just keep going.
So it makes it very weird to side deck because you want a side deck for like Dragoon or the Buster Blader cards, which are essentially like you need board wipes or you need like monster interaction, but then you kind of just lose to all the trap cards. So it's really hard to side deck correctly. You have to draw like an even amount of back row destruction or like back row interaction with monster interaction and then have engine as well. That's what makes the deck so powerful.
Yeah. We did see some lists of the deck play a lot of hand traps, which wouldn't be good versus Monarchs, but he is on Trap Trick, and it did kind of seem like his build had more traps in it.
Yeah, in this format, the hand traps really aren't as impactful. I think like Ash, maybe Crow, Bell, and like Meister. You could play like 3 to 6 in your main deck and maybe side 3 to 6 more, but they're not as important to like blow out your opponents just to stop them from getting like recursion.
Yeah. He's also on 60 though, so if he's playing like 6 hand traps, he's just never gonna see him.
Yeah, it does look like 60 now that they're shuffling up and getting ready for the next round. So I'd be very excited if he just dropped like a Dragoon because I feel like that's just very hard for the Monarch player to deal with.
Yeah.
But Monarch going first this time would be interesting because now he doesn't have to face the back row and he might have a chance to just get his engine started since we didn't really see him get any plays done last game.
Yeah, hopefully he starts with like a Pantheism, like discard Prime, something really nice this turn.
Pantheism, Primer, 1-for-1 pitch Erebus, like things like
Yeah.
he needs to open a power play.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, and it'd just be nice to see like Monarchs coming back after so long.
Yeah, we saw Lithium get top 4 at the remote duel, and it was really cool to see him doing well with it.
Yeah, and you just see like the power of a deck when you know it really well and it's a deck he's been playing for so long that you can just imagine how many like times he's been put in situations and knows how to get out of them because he's been playing the deck for 4+ years.
Exactly.
And we see they just finished shuffling up, so we'll go back to the match now.
So Monarch is probably going to go first here. He could choose to go second, though.
If he has cards like Evenly Matched or Lightning Storm in his side deck, he can 100% go second and just try to take all his opponent's card with one go. If he's not siding those cards and siding more like Cosmic and Twin Twister, he'd probably want to go first and try to establish his resources.
Yeah. Could also be wanting to go second so that way he doesn't brick again.
Yeah, and it looks like Samson did open up, so the Monarch player chose to go second, and Red Eyes Fusion's coming down like we were talking about.
Oh, he has to discard the brick from hand.
Damn, even in 60 cards, you hate to see it.
You really do.
But yeah, it looks like his deck is just full of a bunch of just good generic cards from the meta. Hopefully he's playing a decent amount of hand traps just to interact with all the other decks, but the trap cards should be able to help a lot in the grind matchups.
Yeah.
Let's see, would you summon it in the extra monster zone or the main monster zone?
Probably the main monster zone in case you have to make like a Link Spider later on. I mean, I don't think it really matters in this matchup, but like just in case Link Spider comes up, I'd put it in the main monster zone.
Yeah, I see people putting it in the extra monster zone just to like try and play around cards as much as possible, but you limit yourself to extra deck plays in the follow-up.
Yeah. And I don't think he doesn't have to be afraid of like YuGiOh Nader in the extra deck or anything because
his opponent has no extra deck.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of people, I want to see if people respect the YuGiOh Nader because I know people do it a lot.
Yeah, it's a common play online. Haven't seen it in person yet.
I have yet to see the card be summoned because I guess everyone's playing around it, so no one wants to go ahead and throw it in their extra deck. But as soon as people stop playing around it, one person's going to get hit by it on stream or something like that, and no one will
Oh
ever forget
yeah.
again.
Mhm.
This is just a better start than last game. He's starting out with Tenacity. We didn't really get to see which Monarch he revealed, but at least getting to search for Pantheism or just any other spell and trap.
Yeah, it grabs Pantheism. That's really good. Even if it gets negated, it's still gonna search something.
Yeah, Pantheism's just the best card in this deck by far, in my opinion, along with Stormforth and then like Erebus.
For sure. Pod agreed, then grab one from deck is so nice.
Yeah, I think the card aged very well. Like you see a lot of cards in the formats or from past formats, they don't really age well, as in they don't do as much, but Pantheism does just as much, if not more, than it did before.
Yeah. So he's thinking about negating this. Would you negate this here?
So it looks like his opponent only has 2 cards in hand. So he could negate it with Dragoon, and then he really doesn't have much resources unless he's pitching an Eldlich card. So he's probably hoping to save it for Jose's out to the Dragoon, since the deck only can out it with Erebus, or swinging over it with the Domain. But at that point, I'm almost positive the Dragoon will be at 4,000 from any of the negations. So it's really hard to get there turn 1.
Mhm.
He just runs the risk of losing to a Chain Block with March or Stormforth, because this card not being once per turn is a big issue. Or it is once per turn, but negating the activation.
Yeah. I got what you meant there. So he's gonna grab Stormforth. Revealing 3 means that there's none in hand. Well, now there's one in hand, but there's not gonna be another one in case of Dragoon negates.
And you know that he already activated Tenacity, so he can't go ahead and search for another one. So he'd have to draw it off a card like another Pantheism.
Yeah.
And who knows, he could be playing like sub-engines to try and get him like into the deck. We know we've seen Allure in the deck before, and some people have tried Desires and things of those sorts.
Yeah. More consistency cards so that way it doesn't brick.
Exactly.
So he seems to be thinking here. Probably thinking about how to beat this Dragoon negate.
Yeah, the Dragoon just seems like it's a really hard card for most decks to answer.
Yeah.
Like you see he's forced to commit his normal summon here, which like if that in reality got negated and he didn't have access to 1-for-1,
Yeah.
he probably just passed turn anyway.
Mhm.
So I think this is kind of risky from the end of Samson, because if you just go Stormforth, you're forced to negate it, and if he has Erebus, you just lose the Dragoon outright, or you can lose the other card in your hand if he has Domain and wants to swing over it. Like there's just a lot of ways that this can go wrong for you.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't negate something here.
He's looking at his trap card, so okay, that's kind of big. He's getting rid of a body, but I think it was a little premature. He should have probably held that for the actual Monarch, because he still gets the additional tribute from the baby effect, correct?
Yeah. So he still has his extra tribute here. It's not like he was negating it.
He's forcing it on having an extender of some sorts, like Domain or a way to that, so that way he could just make his monster become a level 6 and only require 1 tribute.
Yeah, he just set, which is probably Domain, and set some pass. That's really interesting. If that's Domain set, he still could have tried to do something, but I guess Dragoon would have just negated it.
Yeah, his probably only other line of play was like Stormforth or something like that. And we see that he discarded one of the Golden Lands off Dragoon to get his Eldlich engine started. And this is where the deck starts to steamroll, really.
Yeah.
Dragoon's just pop and burn effect is also so strong post turn 1, because it allows you to apply so much pressure into almost killing your opponent off of 1 card.
Yeah, Dragoon's crazy. It also gangs attack when it destroys something. It's very good versus rogue decks.
The card's just very good in general and hasn't had its time to shine, because we've had so many strong decks the past couple formats, whether it was Block Dragon or Link Cross, just so many strong cards in the format that just not power crept, but make it not as strong.
Yeah, because you do have to play the bricks in the deck to play it. And like even in 60, we saw him draw one this game.
Yeah, and there are times where the bricks will mess you up, but the power level of Dragoon is just worth it.
Oh yeah, especially in 60, because odds are you're just not going to draw them.
Yeah, and in a deck like this where you just need like 1 turn or 1 big body to stick so you can get your engine going, like getting the Dragoon to stick past 1 turn almost guarantees victory. Like I don't think I've played a match where my opponent has had a Dragoon for more than 1 turn and they lost.
Yeah, like if I was playing his deck, I would 100% play Dragoon in it. It's nice, especially because you can make Anaconda with your Eldlich stuff and get to it.
Yeah, 100%. There's just a lot of ways to get to it, whether it's Red Eyes Fusion, Red Eyes Insight, or just making Verte outright. And it
Yeah,
looks like he's summoning Lord here. I wonder if he's using the graveyard effect of the Lord. Seems like.
yeah, he's gonna use Prime here.
So probably trying to dig for a hand trap or just some form of disruption since he did decide to go second. I don't know. At this point, there's not much he could draw into unless he's trying to get his Stormforth to resolve and then like have access to Aether as well. But he
Yeah,
needs to have a Prime in the graveyard for that since he'll only have one monster to tribute.
could also just be hoping for like Pantheism, just like good cards to play through it next turn.
Yeah, Pantheism would be really strong for next turn because just like the turn before, it got him 2 draws and a search for the Stormforth. So if he's able to Pantheism and then search for 2 copies of Stormforth and a Tenacity, it just
Mhm.
puts him really ahead because his opponent knows he cannot negate the Stormforth.
Exactly.
Here he's just probably going to have to take the 65 to the face.
Yeah, nothing much you could really do about it.
Not having Prime in the graveyard is really detrimental to the Monarchs grind game.
Looks like he's gonna be using a card here.
Oh, he's trying to imperm out of his hand. And well, cards are face up and target the Dragoon, which can't be targeted. So, couple misplays here. This player probably hasn't played with Dragoon being out. The card is so strong. It power creeps like any other boss monster that's been released in a very long time.
Oh yeah, for sure. He had to read the Eldritch stuff too, so he probably just doesn't know the new stuff. And
Yeah,
we see
and
him
he
admit defeat here.
so he really couldn't get much going, which is unfortunate because we did want to see some Rogue in the first round. But as Monarchs are known, they did brick a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it happens. It's Monarch.
Yeah, you hate to see it, but he gave it his best shot. He did the best he could in the situation he was put into. I mean, his
Mhm.
opponent having Dragoon like face up turn one is just so hard to go through sometimes.
Yeah, it really is a lot of pressure.